Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to today's Advisicon Academy training. My name is Leslie Pfau. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Advisicon. We are a group of authors, teachers, consultants, and technologists offering training in Microsoft technologies, project management, and methodology. With attending any of our training sessions, we offer PDUs as we are a registered education provider with the Project Management Institute. At the close of today's session, I'll give you some instructions on how to claim your PDUs and how to contact Advisicon for any questions you may have. Now, before we get started, I'd like to go over a few things so you know how to participate in today's event. Please review the control panel that should be on the top right of your screen. The audience is muted during this session, so in order to ask questions, you'll need to submit them in the questions window of the control panel. This webinar will be recorded and uploaded to the Advisicon YouTube channel for those who could not attend today's session live. Please note that any questions or comments submitted will not display in the recording, nor will any of your personal information be shared. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's instructor, Richard Wentworth, Advisicon's Academy Lead. So without further ado, I'll hand this presentation over so we can get started.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Happy Wednesday to everyone. I hope everyone is obviously staying safe out there. So obviously I was, and hopefully that I'll preface it by, I was on a webinar earlier today and there were some audio issues. So I'm gonna be wishing the best that we don't have any audio issues for our webinar here for a little bit. But if there are, just go ahead and use that message window and let Leslie know if there's any issues, and I'll make adjustments as necessary. So good to be back with you folks. Today we're talking about making a move from project server to project online. And so I'm going to get through that. In terms of the agenda, this is what we'll try and cover here in the next 30 minutes. So basically, I'm going to go through and should I make the move? So we'll talk about some important dates that have either passed or coming up for any of you that are using Project Server at the moment. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some key findings and benefits of making the move to Project Online. So Forrester puts out some information previously, and so I've got some quotes for you to give on that and some numbers to see. And with that, we'll also talk about some key findings and some of the benefits from that. Next piece is we'll want to go through and talk about selling your stakeholders. So any good engagement, you want to get convince people it's the right thing to do, you need to get stakeholder buy-in. So we talk about some of the things that you do with any engagement and selling your stakeholders, and specifically, you know, from a PPM perspective, moving from server to online, what that looks like. So things to consider. I'll also spend a couple slides talking about migration planning itself. So having a phased timeline is important, understanding the sort of like the key activities that are involved in planning the migration from server to online. We help organizations do it a lot. And so there's tools, there's artifacts that are useful, conversations you need to have, what have you. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I do want to end up with talking about some of the key capabilities of Project Online. So, you know, things you get by making the move from server to online as well. So I'll at that point I'll bounce over to my browser, and we'll talk about the new project for the web, and obviously Teams, and how you can access projects within Teams and Power BI and all those lovely things that you get now with Project Online, Project for the web, all within the Office 365 suite and all the integration. So, and then at the end, if we've got time, I'll do a quick summary, and then we'll take some Q&A. So with that, let's just go through. So should I make the move? But then you also have to ask yourself, am I able to make the move? So first of all, here are some dates right here. So for those of you operating in a Project Server 2013 environment, you're probably already aware of the mainstream support that was ended on April 18th, 2018. We have the extended support for 2013 coming up for expiration there, the date in 2023, and then mainstream support for 2016. So if I use the Porky Pig reference there, then something to be concerned of. So moving to online within those dates would be something you need to keep in mind in doing that. So beyond that, you've got questions of, am I able to actually move? So it's just the nature of my business, nature of my vertical. Are there security considerations? Are there reasons why I have to have an on-premise server, on-premise situation? Are there business rules that keep me from making the move from project server to project online? All right, so do I need to maintain certain levels of control? And so that's why I need to have all that premise, and I can't really release that to a cloud environment. So, these are some of the big questions that leads into whether or not, we should do a feasibility study of whether or not it makes sense, or can we actually do it? Can we make the move? On the other side, you talk about what are some of the benefits of making that move. So if I'm able to make the move, we're talking about the cost savings. We no longer have to worry about the investment of having to have the on-premise hardware, software, labor that's involved with maintaining your project server environment. So there's cost savings there, and you basically push that over to a subscription licensing instead. Level of maintenance, so again, that goes down as well. So obviously you have your Office 365 admin. Typically that's going to be doing a lot of the maintenance involved with just maintaining your instance or tenants in the cloud. But again, not having all the equipment and the work associated with that, not have to worry about, then that goes down. And then of course, one of the big ones is always security. Even today, with so many things that are in the cloud, securities are always concerned. I know certain verticals have obviously much higher appreciation for their concern for security than others. And so what I'm going to actually show you, though, in a little bit is that Office 365 may in fact be more secure than the on-premise environment. So it can use that to dispel some of the preconceived notions that some may have with respect to an on-prem setup being more secure than Office 365. So again, so these are key questions, things to consider when you're going through and doing the evaluation. So, and again, there's no silly questions. So according to the Forrester report, here are some key things. So key findings when organizations, individuals were interviewed, folks that had actually made the switch, they'd made the migration from server to online, and were operating in that environment. Here are some of the key findings that they had when they moved over. So 60% savings there for PMs in terms of reporting efficiencies. It led to reduction in overtime costs and improved resource utilization. So increased project visibility, improving that. Honestly, that piece is one of the most common challenges that any organization comes to when they come to a Microsoft partner like Advisicon, and they're struggling with resource capacity, resource planning, forecasting, all those pieces that a project will give you. So being in the cloud, definitely we see that ring true. And then integration into ERP solutions improve their ability to negotiate, saving money on basically parts and materials. So again, you can see some of the value points here that were quantified by that study. But there's also other benefits as well. So we have the ability, like so I mentioned earlier, the infrastructure costs and increasing scalability. It allows organizations to mature so they can move through their project management maturity lifecycle in the organization. And then ultimately, the most important thing is increasing customer satisfaction, delivering value. So by even having these, this gives them the ability to increase on-time delivery with their projects using it. So, and the big one is the one I went through before. So we talked about security, right? Security always being a big concern, and is the cloud secure? So Office 365, So this is obviously Microsoft making this claim, but they have reasons behind it for why they think it's actually probably more secure. So Microsoft spends over $1 billion annually in security, data protection, and risk management. So, and there's a variety of things to state the case of why being in the cloud is actually secure. So one of those pieces is you get, because you're on the Office 365 platform with lots of other organizations, as soon as a threat is detected that's affecting maybe one customer, and then immediately anything that gets done to address that threat, the organizations that are on the platform basically are taken care of. They're inoculated as a result of one instance, one coming up. So having that broader scope of intelligence of what's going on, what the threats are, being able to rectify those. Greater automation and decreased human intervention, right? So this goes back to not having to take care of all the equipment and such on site, so less work by those individuals who are committed to maintaining those things. So having that is another key factor. Again, better anomaly detection due to uniformity and simplicity. So these are, again, ways that going through and simplifying how things are done in the cloud helps to protect and detect and respond to any of the threats that come through. Innovation. So constantly innovating. You're always seeing, those of you that are obviously on Office 365, there are always releases, updates coming out, and there's a team at Microsoft working on this, doing testing all the time, looking for vulnerabilities. And so constantly innovating and being able to release those things. Cross-application security model, another example. So basically, when you go through, there's you can evolve your security capabilities. Going through, you can see, you can adjust the models and how people that are causing threats or trying to attack. So cloud application services takes that to a new level and have context-aware security capabilities that can cross application boundaries. So transparency. So transparency is a big one. So Microsoft, if you've ever engaged with a Microsoft engineer, they will actually ask for permission when accessing your data. So it's very important to Microsoft when in terms of data protection, and so they always make a point of asking that. So in the end, there's a lot of key reasons of why the security piece for Office 365 can state the case for being more secure. Okay, so beyond those questions, you have to convince your folks that you need to make that move from server to cloud. So beyond expiration dates of support, people need to buy in, right? So there's key questions you should be posing to your stakeholders, giving them information up front to get them to buy in. So, any good stakeholder engagement plan that you have for any project, where you identify, analyze, and prioritize your stakeholders, right? You know who your stakeholders are, and then you derive what the level of engagement of those stakeholders are. So, do your stakeholders know what the future will look like? So, moving from server to online, how is that going to basically, what does that look like for them? How does it impact them? Have you communicated why the change is required, so they understand why you're making the change? So making sure that's actually made very clear. Will it make their jobs easier? Everyone wants to have, no one likes pain. Everyone wants to be able to have an opportunity to have something that makes their job easier, so they can be more productive and they can focus on other tougher things if it can make other things easier. So asking that question. What will the change look like to them? And then are you ready to support them? So those two elements there. So, and other questions to consider when you're going to be approaching your stakeholders and you're planning to make a move is you think about, since the last time you implemented Project Server, what's changed? Has things fundamentally at your organization changed? from a company vision perspective, techniques, management, to the management changes, where they're learning. So those of you that maybe did migrations from 2010 to 2013 or 2013, 2016, server to server, where there are learnings that you had there. So taking those into consideration as you plan your move. Is it time for us to reconsider how we're currently doing things from a process and methodology perspective? So let's go ahead and give time to that. Do we need to, are there other third-party systems, add-ons, customizations we should consider? Any other obstacles that you need to address? So these are lots of different types of questions that are important to ask when you're going through that process of, making the move from server to online. And, going back here, this next slide, so we talk about when you're approaching your stakeholders, and you want to have them visualize, well, what's in it for me? What's going to be? What's this new environment going to look like? This is where you can use this actually as a means of communicating. Well, if we move from the project server environment and move to online, now the world tends to open up a little bit and we have access to a lot more things. So you have access to the project for the web offering, Microsoft's brand new project service. You have the project online, so that's the linkage is basically taking project server using the desktop client, right, and linking up to the cloud and being able to do mostly what you do now, but opening up the world with more Office 365 feature access. The roadmap, the new project home, the project roadmap. So I'm going to try and share these with you briefly here at the end. So, we talk about these other applications, right? So these, you get access to all these, the project, the planner, Teams, Power BI, Azure boards, all these are just a smidgen of the PPM related apps that you get access to when you make that move. So I also wanted to spend some time just talking about, it gives a sort of an outline here of some migration timeline, some general phases of what you can go through when planning the migration from server to online. So again, we help organizations do these. So we have lots of information. We've helped customers do those migrations. So if you have questions about this, feel free to reach out separately and we can answer those. But going through from migration preparation to configuration of the online environment, executing the migration, performing post-migration tasks, right? So there's things you need to consider in terms of, well, when I finish the migration, what do I do with my server? How do I dispose of it? Do I need to archive it? Do I need to keep it active on our side? So key questions to keep in mind. When you're doing the configuration of Project Online, you go through the whole process of understanding, well, all these projects that we have, do I have individual projects that maybe have custom fields, and we do account for those when we migrate, when we move projects. Various custom fields and such. Are there any linkages or integrations that we have in our project server that may be affected when you move over to Project Online? So we have a whole checklist that goes through in terms of what you should consider. The training aspect. So you need to train server admins and project managers and show them how the new environment differs from what they're used to in a project server environment. Developing a training plan around that. And then obviously looking at post-migration support. So understanding what support looks like once the move from server to online occurs. So, and then factoring in other, the reporting needs you have. Project server, you go from SSRS and then you move into Power BI and having Power BI service and things like that. So all these pieces kind of play into each other. With doing that. Other useful things here, I'll have a couple slides real quickly, just talk about things that are good. So when you go through the process, making sure you're engaging all your stakeholders, using artifacts like this to make sure you're covering all your bases and knowing where everything is coming from. Those of you that have, you have information on project server, but maybe you have file shares, God forbid, where you need to move things from file shares into Project Online. So again, I call out some of the key things: custom fields, resources, and then archiving strategy. But having a grid like this where you can fully document your search to target information, so from your server to online, having that. And then it's also useful to diagram. So visualizations always help. We try and provide visualizations, everything we do, Visio, flowcharts, process diagrams, critical. So important to, when you're mapping out the entire approach, you want to diagram it, provide to your stakeholders, make sure you catch all the gotchas, and make sure that you're ready to execute the migration appropriately. So finishing up some of the key capabilities, right? So we'll go through these. So we talk about the project it's built on the SharePoint platform, the integration with Office 365. With that, it gives you access to Project Home, Project for the Web, Roadmap. The benefits of having a web-based UI, so from Project Server to Project Online. Now it opens up for team members to be able to access the application, view their tasks, progress their tasks. If you use timesheets, you can use the timesheet capability. We have the advantage of getting Power BI report packs from Microsoft. So both the new report pack, which gives you access, a report pack not only for Project Online, but also for Project for the Web. You have the ability to link your Microsoft projects, your project schedules, to the Planner application. So now only if you have the subscription-based product can you have that linkage to Planner. And on the same lines, the Agile features. So we did an Agile webinar a brief time ago, and talked about the Agile features in Project Online that you have access to. So you get those by making the switch. Not to mention, using Microsoft's collaboration and communication hub. So having a Microsoft team and being able to have a schedule added as a channel or as a tab within a channel in your Microsoft team, what have you. So we had that. And then, of course, taking advantage of workflows with Power Automate. So I'm going to go ahead and just flip over to my other screen here. And basically just go through. So you make the move from server to online. You have advantages of being able to see all of your projects at a portfolio level. So everything being here in your project center. Similarly, obviously you see this from your project server environment, but then what it opens up the ability to have using your project for the web. So if you go to project.microsoft.com, or if you just select on the waffle and go down to your tab, then obviously this page loads as well. So this is where it opens up your access to Project for the Web, as well as your roadmap. So the roadmap capability that you now have, being with Project Online. So having this, so a lot of benefits, a lot of capabilities that you are able to get from basically making that move from server to online. And then, of course, we've got the report pack. So this is the updated report pack that was released earlier this year. Notice over here that we now have the ability to change the data source. So data source, Project for the Web, or Project Online. So again, going through there and having the ability to go through these various Power BI reports and dashboards that are available. So all these things, the updates, if you use Power BI now in a server environment, you notice that the updates don't roll through as quickly as if you're working with the Power BI service in the cloud. So again, that's a lot of benefits from just biting it off and making that move from server to online. So a lot of benefits you get from the team member perspective, and the flexibility that you have being able to get access from a mobile device. You have a lot of decentralized workforce. Think about things now where the environment we're in now with COVID-19 issues. So those of you that maybe are operating a project server that requires VPN, the remote access, get in there versus easily pull up a browser and access your project information. So we don't know how long this COVID situation will go, but making a move to online certainly simplifies the process in situations like this. God forbid we have another one that comes up in the near future beyond that. So So that's about it. So to finish up, from a summary perspective, you're going to make that move from server to online. Make sure you embrace your stakeholders. So go back, we talk about the questions to ask them, understanding what's in it for them, making sure there's clear engagement from them of why you're making the move. Follow a structured process. So having a process where you understand all the phases, the stakeholders who are required for each of those phases. So developing a racing matrix would also be a good plan to have that set up. You get to enjoy the benefits of an Office 365 integration. So having access to all those other applications in the cloud, along with Project Online, is going to make your ability to collaborate with your team and, again, increase the efficiency, the productivities of your projects, just like some of the data points that were released by the Forrester report. And then again, if you need help, if you're considering making the move, reach out to a Microsoft PPM partner. Partners like Advisicon, we help organizations when they make server-to-server moves or server-to-online. We've been through it. We know what the hiccups are, the pain areas to be cautious of, and best practices. So we're here to support you. So I think I left a couple minutes here, Leslie, for any questions that may have come in. So we could probably take a couple.
Thank you, Rich. And actually, it looks like you did a great job of covering all the information, as we don't have any questions at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, then with that, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll hand it back to Leslie. And again, if you have any questions regarding making a move from server to online, feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're happy to help any organization with that. Thanks, Leslie.
Thanks, Rich. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's webinar. We welcome your questions and feedback, as Rich said. For more information, you can also email us at contact@advisicon.com. Once you exit today's webinar, you'll receive a survey on the presentation. You'll need to complete and submit the survey to receive your PDUs. From there, you'll receive a follow-up email within 2 business days with your PDU information. If you're watching this recording on YouTube or another social media platform, please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. On behalf of Advisicon, Rich, producer Amanda, and myself, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you participate in future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.